You know you have a super early flight. Stacy, can we make sure everybody's in? Stacy, can you make sure everybody's in? We need to get started so we can keep you all on time. All right. Let's get everybody back in their seats. We're ready for an exciting treat. All right, here we go. I'm super excited to introduce our next and final VIP guest presenter who's going to close out the show for us today. We are going to have Stacy's going to have the microphone because you're going to have a lot of questions. So if you have a question, raise your hand so that Stacy can bring the mic over to you, okay? All right, here we go. I'd like to introduce the most amazing person. She is a gifted intuitive since childhood. She's a globally recognized authority in subtle energy, chakras, and energy work. She has a deep approach rooted in scientific and spiritual principles. Her popular 40-plus groundbreaking books on chakras, energy healing, and intuition include The Subtle Body, an encyclopedia of your energetic anatomy, The Intuition Guidebook, Energy Healing for Trauma, Stress and Chronic Illness, Advanced Chakra Healing, and many, many, many more books. I have been personally transformed by so much of her work over my career, and she's an internationally renowned for her ability to perceive what's blocking others from opening to their essential energy, their unique powers and perspectives, and she assists people in unlocking the constraints so they can uncover and apply their extraordinary healing gifts. She's worked with over 75,000 students and clients. She's mastered the art of harnessing the power of your spiritual gifts to affect change and healing. She uses this ability to bridge energies from absolute reality into everyday reality. She breaks down complicated concepts into practices you can easily understand and use every day. As your trusted light, she'll support and guide you every step of the way. She loves to teach. Gwyneth Paltrow's popular lifestyle website, Goop, which you all know, referenced her as the teacher of teachers. She's an admired teacher. She offers in-depth classes via the Shift Network, and she also leads a year-long apprenticeship program throughout her company. Essential energy and helping people and develop their intuition and gifts. You're going to learn a lot about that today. She has so many courses that she teaches locally and worldwide, and she's trained in several different healing modalities. Her prestigious skills include shamanism, intuitive healing, energy healing, family of origin therapy, therapeutic touch, the Lakota way, and faith healing. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Cindy Dale.
You're all so friendly. I'm so excited to be here. Yes, when I was a little girl, I wanted to grow up to write books about chakras. No. I wanted to be a beauty queen, and I kind of feel like that right now. I have to say, yes, there we go. I practiced that when I was 5 in Huntsville, Alabama. I have to say that I'm coming to this with so much awe of your profession, especially given my own personal last real estate experience, in which I wasn't using my brain cells a few years ago. Instead of selling my nice little cute 57 Rambler and then getting something better, I decided to renovate. And this is why people always say, go to a realtor. Sell your house, buy something new, do not renovate. Because, of course, I chose to start right before the lockdown. So my lumber was in the South Sea of China, having baby lumbers or whatever it does when it's sitting in the ships, way over there. 3.5 years later, I finally concluded, having spent weeks and weeks and weeks in hotels with 3 animals, one illegal, the cat was illegal, and I just pretended it was a ghost cat. I do subtle energy. So when people said, "Is that your cat in the window?" I would just say, "What cat?" My cat is dead. So I'm very, very happy to be here. And what I'm mainly going to talk about today is my 12 chakra system. And in a little bit, I'll tell you about why 12, not only 7 chakras, etc. But the punchline is going to be because working with that, especially the top 5 chakras that are more out of the body than in the body, can, I think, really benefit all of you professionally as well as personally. So I'm first going to lay the groundwork, and we're going to start with an exercise in a few minutes so that I really get you acquainted with the 3 different layers of the chakras. And I have a motive to that. I'll explain that in a minute. Because chakra clearing, chakra manifesting, chakra healing, making decisions about how to communicate with the client or how to pick that right place for who they are or how to problem solve or how not to get smudged, if they're mad because the deal fell through or whatever, is really much more beneficial and doable if you understand there's 3 layers to every chakra. I'll walk you through that, teach you a couple easy techniques, and then we're going to jump into the 12 chakra system. I will talk about each chakra, what it is, how it works, how you can, in particular, in your function, interact with it, do some demonstrations, take questions. I love interactions. And then we're going to end with a guided meditation in which I'm going to introduce you to the lambda brain wave or state. I know you've gone to gamma. There's a couple higher than that are magical and miraculous. And that's our arc of engagement. Please ask questions. Please participate. I'm just going to ask that you raise your hand and use the mic because everything kind of echoes in here. So I want us to be able to hear each other as well. So let's just start by taking a couple deep breaths. In the middle of your heart chakra. And even with that breath, I'm going to begin introducing you to the 3 different layers of every chakra. I want you to just imagine in your mind's eye, but also in your body, in the middle of the heart, which is the center of your energy system, produces the largest electromagnetic and torsion field of any of the chakras. You're in the very center. And in a few minutes, I'm going to describe that center as being made of absolute and pure light, where your own spirit indwells. Take a breath, and then through that heart chakra, just move out just a few more inches, and you may get a sense that that layer feels just a little different. And in a few minutes, I'm going to introduce you to that layer, which is made of possibilities and dreams and hopes and potentials. And then one more breath, go out, one more layer. You're in the outer bounds of your chakra. And you might just want to feel like you're swimming in it, exploring it, yet a different kind of energy is localized in the outside of all of our chakras. It's the everyday energy, which I will explain as very important, very practical, but also that which holds our programs and our problems. All right, then just breathe yourself right back to the here and now. And you'll be more grounded now. Here we are. Just as an anchoring, what we're talking about is energy. And I know everybody has a different understanding of energy. My short definition of energy is just information that vibrates. Everything is what it is. You are who you are. Your client is who they are. The land or the trees on it are what they are because there's information or data that tells it what to be. And everything moves. and that's the vibration. So coffee is coffee because there's data, invisible data in there saying this is coffee. Tea is tea because there's invisible data saying that it's tea. You want hot coffee, you're going to vibrate faster. You want cold coffee, you're going to use slower vibrations. But this is where the miracles can start to occur, is once we get out of the rigid thinking of because there's data that's already locked in or vibration that's already present, you can't change something. Because you just change that data a little bit and your coffee turns into tea, which I would prefer. You don't want tea, you want coffee, change the data. You want hot versus cold versus invisible, like the ether that Veronica was talking about, you change the vibration. And we know science is proving now that everything is made out of energy. Einstein said that forever ago. The ancients said it 10,000 years ago, as a matter of fact. But there's two basic types of energy. There's physical, there's subtle. Subtle, as most of you have been apprised of, is 99.999% of all energy. So most of you isn't here. 20 years ago, researchers were able to find the electrons connected to somebody's body a football field away. I mean, so where are you right now? You have no idea where you might be flying and what you're attuned to and what you're picking up to. Now we work with quantum physics that is really showing that we're mainly made out of subatomic wave particles, which could be everywhere at once. So that's what creates unlimited possibilities, is understanding that we are mainly subtle energy. We're fields of light and sound, most of which cannot be seen or recorded, except the body uses the chakras, the energetics of the chakras, to be able to tune into what's out there and to bring it to us, to be able to change the messaging that we're sending into the world so we attract what really suits us to us. And it's through the chakras. They're like the steering wheels within the body or around the body through which we enable ourselves to program and direct the subtle energies. Subtle energy is really the lattice work of the physical. So when you're working with a client, of course, it's much more important, to focus on certainly who they are, but how you feel, what's happening inside of you, what your nature is, what you're thinking, how open-hearted you're being, and the client responds. Because we've also been showing that we're constantly engaging through the energetics that come off the chakras in the bodies with others, and they'll respond to how we're being. So to me, it's really helpful to understand the 12 chakra system. I'll tell you in a few minutes how I got to 12 instead of 7, and how so many cultures in the world don't just work with 7, but also to understand the structure or the composite of a chakra, because that's going to give you some power to be able to work with these subtle energetics and to be able to shift what you need to shift, whether you're showing up personally or professionally. And I'll give you an example. My youngest son has been a baseball pitcher, and he I think, I don't know, I can't remember. He had this habit of every single time as a starter he would come up, he would always throw 5 balls, which Mother hated. Mother is like, I'm going to the bathroom every single time you're starting a game. That's me. I'm like, I can't watch you throw those 5 balls, because it's like it's too scary for me. And after about 6 months of this on a particular team he was on, he said, Mom, why do you always go to the bathroom when I come up to pitch? And I said, well, I just guess I have to go to the bathroom. I forget to go beforehand. He goes, well, you can't do that. So I said, the reason I go to the bathroom is you always throw balls before you start throwing strikes. Can I just help you with that? And he goes, well, okay, but don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody my mother, who does weird stuff, is coaching me. So I said, look, Gabe, you have 3 layers. He goes, don't use that word chakra either. I go, okay, I won't use the word chakras. I said, you have 3 layers to who you are. And the inner layer is where everything happens, according to your real self, your authentic self. That's where you're interconnected. That's where everything comes from, this place of what I like to call the absolute. And I don't use the word spiritual with him either. So I kind of stumbled for words. And I said, and when you come from there, say you're going to stand up there, you're on the mound, you're going to pitch, and you're focused in your chest or your center of gravity, wherever it is. I didn't use the word chakras, I did really well. And I said, you come from that inside place, you're attuned. You're attuned to the world and all the good forces in it. He goes, okay, so what's the catch? And I said, well, sometimes we're not quite ready for that. So there's a second layer to who we are, and that's the layer of possibilities that kind of bridges into our typical habits and behaviors and what our fears are. He goes, oh, okay, so I can always go there if I'm not feeling it. And he goes, well, what happens if I keep doing what I'm doing? I said, you're going to keep throwing 5 balls every time you come up to the mound. Just like that, strike after strike after strike. Now, we want strikes in our life. It doesn't mean we're not going to throw a ball every so often. It doesn't mean we're not going to slip and slide. It doesn't mean we're not going to tune in to what's happening. But even the Hindus talked about in the spine, there's 3 layers of energy. They say the same thing in traditional Chinese medicine. And that's what I really want to convey before I get into what chakra does what, is how you can get this to work for you. So the very center of every chakra, you have little bags you're going to take out in a minute. You don't have to use the stones yet. I'm going to take us through another introductory experience to these. The very center is made out of something scientists these days call absolute light. And we've been seeing that there's a type of a light in the universe that most likely predates the Big Bang. It's in the cosmic background radiation. There's twists of light in the universe that while the entire universe is expanding, these twists of light are not moving. And they give off a light that casts no darkness. And the Hindus call that the spiritual center of the spine and the chakras. And that, in fact, is what's in the middle of our spine. It's a pure spiritual energy in which our spirit indwells with whatever it is you call this, the presence or the oneness, the universe or the spirit. We've been starting to see that the next layer of the chakras are made out of a type of energy called virtual quantum fluctuations or virtual light. Basically, that relates to the void. So the void is a vacuum state in which there are unlimited potentials. Everything exists within the void, but you have to draw it out to be able to manifest it. In order to disappear something, it has to go back into the void. If you want to get rid of a tumor, or a poverty mentality, or a challenge that you have, you should never say you want to get rid of a coworker or anybody like that. But that's what the business is of this virtual quantum fluctuations. And it's very interesting when you study it with quantum physics because possibilities come up, but they really do have to catch on something in the everyday world in order to be manifested. So many people ask me all the time, well, I'm doing the law of attraction. I'm thinking about this and I'm thinking about that and all this stuff. First of all, we are in a very chaotic world, so not everything's going to go the way your head thinks it's going to go. But the second thing is there has to be enough energy in you or outside of you to create a possibility and turn it into a probability and then to land it in 3D reality. The outer wheel of the chakras, which is where most people are accidentally functioning when they're doing chakra interactions or chakra clearing or manifesting or healing or work, the outer wheel holds your programs. It's about survival and fitting in with your clan. That outer wheel is made out of what I would call polarity energy, which is the stuff of duality, the good and the bad. I have to fit in, I have to survive. And that's where most of us are, again, unconsciously and accidentally functioning from when we're working with our chakras. That's the stuff that has your ancestral programming, past life programming, your in the womb programming, which we've proven is very dominant throughout your life, not even your energy. And that's what's littered in the outside of every chakra, as well as the traumatic experiences, the beliefs that you've drawn from those traumatic experiences, and the collective mentality, which is very questionable, especially right now. And so in order to talk about the 12 chakras and show you how to use them, I want first to have you get this real experience of how to base yourself in the center of every chakra. Because if you're based there, even if you're not quite ready for the dreams and the stimulation of the energy, the universal energy that can come through there to ripple through and impact you and help you in your reality, you at least can stir the virtual and start to have bridging into the desires and bridging into what you want. And clear and clean the programs that are in most of our way. And you guys have been working on each other and on yourselves for a very long time. Living from the center is, even from a chakra point of view, is going to be so much more exultatory and exciting than any other way that we've been taught to do it. All right, so I think the body needs to participate because we're not just a brain. So you have bags, little bags of stones, and I'm going to go back through the exercise I first did. And this time we're really going to anchor yourself in your heart chakra. You're going to pick up different colored stones as I indicate. And then I want you to really feel the energy that I'm going to be explaining again as we go through the exercise. So, a couple deep breaths. You can even keep your eyes open because you're going to want to be able to do this in everyday life, in all interactions. Pick up the white stone, just the white stone. All right. Eyes open or shut, doesn't make any difference. Breathe your way back into the middle of your heart chakra, into the center absolute space. You can feel it, can't you? Or how many of you are feeling it? I just want you to play in there for a second, almost like you're a dolphin in a white sea. Just play in there. And I want you to think of something that's really on your heart, that's a heart's desire. It doesn't have to be grand. It can be. It can be simple. It can be small. A way to think about yourself. Something you'd like to accomplish this coming year in your business. A connection you'd like to make. A fantasy, a dream, a hobby, a book you want to write. I want you to sense that desire in the middle of this absolute sea. And just note to yourself how simple it is to dream and to know and to imagine from this place, and how safe and secure. All right, set down the white stone. Pick up the blue stone. You're still identifying with that absolute center, and I want you to move from it into what we call the virtual. Now, what does that seem like? It's a little denser. For some people, it seems to pop. Yeah, it's more shaky because that's what it is. There's literally quantum wave particles popping all over in there. Now, in here, focus on whatever your desire was. And I want you to just sense how you react, how your body seems to react, what happens for you, what different kind of emotions come up, even thoughts. And I really want you to notice the difference between this oceanic experience and the one you began with. Okay, put down the blue stone, red stone, brown stone, whatever color you have. This is a bit of a clunk experience. You're going to move from virtual through the heart chakra into the outer rim of it. Get a sense of how your body responds, your sense of yourself, your emotions, and go ahead and again, go back to your intention, your hope, your heart's desire, and what's it like out here? All right, we're going to do all of ourselves a favor. Grab the white stone again, go into the middle. And you'll learn how to do this quite quickly. Go back into the middle. Reestablish that hope. And this time just ask for the energy of the absolute to just whoosh, to just expand and ripple. And sense as it moves from deep inside out, from the universe through you out, through the virtual, kind of activating what can come in, and through the outer. And even as it passes through the outer, it goes through, but it also surrounds the outer wheel, heals, cleans, and clears, and keeps moving into the world. You're now sending the message of your dream into the world in a very clean and clear way that's not compromised by what you could say would be some of those outer programs that may not even be your own. Okay, now take a couple breaths. How do you feel? I'd love to hear any experiences of that. Different feeling in the body, isn't it? We have a mic if anybody wants to raise their hand.
Hello? Okay. You know what I noticed? When you
Yeah.
get to that third layer on the outside, the outer, you felt uncertainty and doubt. But then when the white comes back through it, it kind of cleaned it out.
It does clean it out. Exactly. Yep. And your faces got sadder. Just from standing up here. When you were in the middle, everybody was in this sort of meditative, wonderful, altered, we're 5-year-olds playing. The second was a little more jittery, and the third was a little bit more depressed. Hi. What
Hi.
happened for you?
So nothing. Maybe
Okay.
I didn't understand. I'd know nothing about chakras at all. And so I was trying to visualize, and I got nothing. And so maybe someone like me needs a little bit more guidance on what I'm looking for and supposed to be
Perfect.
visualizing.
No, but that's excellent. Thank you for that. You know, and it might become easier as I do some demonstrations too. And I'd be happy to have you come up later for a demonstration if you want as well. You don't have to. I won't drag you. Or your friend can. Somebody else.
Hi. When I felt in the first one was like radiating, and then the second one I felt like these vibrations that kept bouncing off each other, and the third one felt most natural. So I didn't, not that I didn't feel anything, I just felt like, okay, it's more
Normal.
real. Yeah.
The third is where we live from.
And so yeah, I felt it in my limbs, but the second one was like just all the energies.
Yeah, as she's saying, the second is all this popping energy, and that's exactly what it is. If you want to change reality, you have to have different input. You have to change the data, and you have to change the vibration. And that's what we do, going from the inside to the second layer to the out. Because if we keep sharing to the world energetically who we are and what we want through the outer wheel, we're just going to get back what we're always getting back. So it might have felt really normal to most of you. So interacting from this way, we'll be doing a little more of it as I do demonstrations and get you kind of moving with the different chakras. I want to talk now about each of the chakras in the 12 chakra system that I work with. And I know many of you are acquainted with 7 of these energy bodies, but when I was a kid, I saw 12. I was one of those psychic kids. I could see colors, I saw orbs, I saw energies. I already knew if mom was going to be in a bad mood because the red energy in her body in a certain place was like really bright, or if my dad was going to come home and drink a lot, because the yellow, that references a certain chakra and it's about work would be really dim. And so I gauged my reality and what to do within it based on what I was able to see with my eyes. Sometimes I still see these energies with my eyes. I don't want to go to the mall and know that somebody's got purple, hanging out over here where it's supposed to be in here. So I close that down. But that's what taught me years later, when I finally figured out what I was seeing with chakras, that there aren't just 7. And most of you are probably acquainted at some level, some of you aren't, with the idea that there are 7 energy centers that are subtle, that are running physical, physiological, and spiritual concerns, and they're centered in the spine. The truth is that the Westerner, John Woodrow, who wrote the book, The Serpent Power, that taught us that there were 7 chakras, never even said there were 7 chakras. He said there were 6. And then he said, but there's all kinds of other systems in India in which there are multiple chakras. I've done a 1,000-page book. The last half of the book is all about chakra systems from around the world. You can get any number from 3 to 400. So there's nothing sacred about a certain number of chakras. The 5 that I'll be adding to the repertoire that some of you might have, I think might be very useful, though, especially for the type of work that you do. And especially since I'm going to start with one of the out-of-body ones that I call the 10th, and you've got like a picture of a naked woman there, too, that you can look at, that's underneath the ground. And many cultures work with the 10th chakra. They sometimes call it the Earth Star chakra, or many others that go into the ground. This might be one of the most important chakras for all of you to know about in the real estate business, whether it's commercial or residential, because this has to do with the land, with the earth, with the ground, with the environment. And if you're assessing a property or you're selecting a property for somebody you're representing, you're going to want to be able to read what that land is about, what the structure is about, what the environment is about, and what that client wants, and match them in. And that's what we're able to do with the 10th chakra. It's rooted in the earth, the literal earth. It holds your ancestry. It connects you to the cosmos, not only just the earth itself. And especially if you're interacting with, say, a client and you're able to come from that middle layer, you're going to be able to do a good job of really understanding what they want and what they need, and be able to clearly get a sense of what a particular land or a structure is all about. So it's very primal, it's very important, and it's going to help you get a sense of the baseline desires that a particular client has. And match, if you're doing a sales job, you're going to want to know what kind of people want what that is, what the environment is, or what the structure actually is. And so coming from that middle layer helps you get that sense of what you're talking about or what you're working with. What often gets in our way when we're trying to do that, or where we get thrown off, is that outer wheel of our programming may throw us off, or I'm sure you've all had the experience of the client who says, well, but that's not what I want, and you exactly followed the list. Well, I'm just going to make this up. You want a place that has a hill, that has a stream, that has a this, that has a that. Well, no, it's not right. It doesn't feel right. So how do you, in representing somebody, read what they really want without discounting them, and without, kind of like, really going against what it is that they've been telling you? I'm sure many of you had that kind of experience. The way you work with that is through that 10th chakra, that particular 10th chakra. I would love to have somebody come up who has a piece of property that they're representing, and to show you how to assess that property through your 10th chakra. I'll help you. Okay, we got somebody. You kept nodding. I thought you'd come up.
I have a very aggressive supporter here.
Yeah, she keeps nodding, and she pushes really well, too. So can you think of a property? Yes, let's.
Was I supposed to stay there?
You can just stand right here.
Okay.
You're good.
Sorry.
Do you have a piece of property that you're thinking of that you really want to do kind of a basic assessment of? What's the land like? What's the energy of that land in the
Sure.
structure?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So you're thinking of it in your head. All right. Do you have some initial ideas of it that are already in your brain?
Yes.
All right. So we're going to check those out. Do you want to give us a few of the features you're thinking of?
Horse-like property, dark brown, has character, dark roof, big backyard with a pool.
All right. That's like nice and on a sheet of paper. All right. So we're going to do another assessment
Okay.
on it too. All right. So I'm just going to help you think about your 10th chakras underneath the ground. All right. You're doing good. So we're just going to lower under the feet. Everybody can go there too if they want. It's about 2 feet under the ground. All right. Can you kind of sense the part of yourself down there? All right. And what you just gave me is what's in the outer wheel, which is super. Because that's sort of like what's appearing, what's practical, what seems. All right, I'm going to now have you very deliberately go into the very center of that grounded chakra. It's in the middle, it's the absolute light. It's like straight down from your spine.
Not the first chakra.
No, it's underneath the feet.
Okay,
10th. There you go, now you're starting to get in there. Can you feel your legs? That's how you know you're in the 10th. You can feel your legs and your feet. Most people don't feel their legs or their feet ever. All right. Go in the very middle. Now you're moving a little bit, which tells me you're sort of connecting to it. All right. What does it feel like for you when you're in the center?
I can't feel my upper half of my body.
Well, you do have an upper half.
But I feel more in my legs.
Exactly. That's what you want when you're in the lower chakras. By the way, the lower, the denser, they're a lot more about property and money the lower you are in your body. Just telling you from a sales point of view. All right? All right. And your body's waving a little bit, which is right. You're still here. All right. Now, you can keep your eyes open. You can keep your eyes, shut them. Maybe hold up the mic. And now I want you to just, whatever words come out of your mouth, it's fine. Now give me a sense of that property, what you just sense about it.
Green.
What is it?
Green.
Green. So how's the green feel?
Fresh.
It's fresh. So really this is a property that connotes freshness, greenness. What will it provide for anybody who buys it? What's its gift?
Peacefulness.
Peacefulness. Yeah, and you can kind of feel it in your own body, can't you? All right, and do you have a sense of the type of people who would prosper here?
Middle-aged family.
Uh-huh,
Likes horses but don't have horses.
uh-huh. They like horses, but they don't have horses. They don't want to take care of them, probably, if they have kids. Yeah, and what else do you sense about that property and the right kind of match?
I don't know, but I see a family of 3.
All right.
I don't know.
We're all really psychic from the center, let me just tell you. All right. And that family may show up, they might not, but you have the feeling of who they are and what they're about. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So in order to help send that message into the world, to draw people who need the peacefulness, who want the freshness, who wants the greenness, who want to bring that into them, it's very just simple. You just literally stir down in your 10th chakra that absolute light, like that wish that you attract that kind of a buyer. And it's not really because of the money in the 10th chakra, it's because of the fit. It's because the land will fit with the people and the people will fit with the land. And then you just send that messaging out from underneath your feet, from the chakra out into the earth. That's worth any number of flyers. And then you just feel it go. because that's how energy works. We send it out, and it matches up. All right, how do you feel, too?
Good.
Yeah.
Quiet.
Well, you got some of the peacefulness.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Isn't that lovely?
That was cool.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I love chakras. I love the esoteric. I love more than anything when we make them practical and workable, and you can do something with them. All right, so that's your 10th chakra. That's the one that's really about the land, the structure, but when you're coming from the absolute light, it's the spiritual qualities that are really emanating from the center. And the rest will follow. You operate through the spiritual dimensions, and everything else falls into place, just the way that it's supposed to. All right, let's go up into the system. First chakra, those of you who know the chakra system are probably very aware of the first chakra. It's red, it's in the hips. It's very primal, it's physical, it's about physicality, it's about everything that is everyday. It's about money, it's about sex, it's about primal relationship. It holds our core issues. It actually develops when we're in the womb. Each of these chakras turns on at different times. So whatever was happening in your environment when you were inside mom tends to have been programmed, or just born, tends to have been programmed in this particular chakra. And I know you're all top realtors. You're all very... have expertise in the first chakra because it's about wheeling and dealing. It's about money. It's about representing something, a property, and or a person in such a way that the needs get met. And you probably still have challenges when it comes to pricing, dickering, deals going through, etc. But the first chakra is where we set the tone to attract kind of the primal energy. It's the physicality. And when you walk into a house or you walk into a commercial property, this is the chakras that are going to tell you if something needs to be changed, if you want to stage, what it is you want to do with the physical. How do you want to describe it, and how you're going to enable something to occur, too. I won't demonstrate on every chakra, but these lower ones are really important for the field you're in. So I would love to have another person willing to demonstrate on a brand new property or property you think that you would like to maybe acquire, and or represent. And I want you to, what I'm going to do is have you imagine you're walking into the property to get a sense of what physically needs to be fixed up or happening for that property if you're going to get top dollar. So who's got something in mind? Yay, come on up. And this is kind of fun. This is Chakras Made Practical.
Okay. I'm not really familiar with
That's
any
okay,
of
that's
this.
better.
In fact, I'm having a thing made for my sister for her birthday.
Yeah.
And they asked me, what are her chakras? I don't know. So.
We all have them even if we don't know what they all do.
Right. Okay.
And it works even if you don't know what you're doing.
Okay.
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 So tell me a little bit about maybe what property you're thinking about.
Well, it's one that I'm going to put on the market in
Uh-huh.
the next few weeks.
Okay.
It's, do I give you the, size, square foot?
Doesn't matter, but you've
Okay.
been in it.
I've
Yep,
been
so
in
you know it.
I've been in it multiple times.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So it's needs some resituating of furniture.
Staging,
it's
movements.
not- it's not, I don't know if it's staging, but more like removal.
Sure.
Of
There's some things to
certain
get done.
types,
Okay.
Because there's, in the property, it feels like there's, the living area, then there's another seating area,
Right.
then there's like a seating bar area, and it's like a lot of sitting
Yeah.
areas.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
in an area where
Yeah.
it's meant for families
Yep.
typically.
Yep.
There's a good school
Sure.
in the area.
So I'm going to have you go into your first chakra to
Okay.
just check what it is you think needs to be done and come up with a list of 4 or 5 things that seem really critical.
Okay.
All right. So all you have to do is breathe. All right. The first chakra is down in the hip area.
Okay.
All right. It's in the center of the hips. And I want you to just imagine yourself being lowered from the head down into the hip area. And that energy center, going into the very center of it. If you see color, it tends to be seen as red.
Okay.
All right, now what are you sensing? What's your sense of being there right now?
In the property or?
No, in your first chakra.
Oh, okay. I feel there's a lot of tile and cold, so a lot of cold feeling in there.
Okay, all right. So one thing we want to do, and we're going to get more into this, is do some healing on the chakras, because all parts of your life that are regulated by that particular chakra will improve. May not perfect, we're not here to do perfect, but we're here to kind of keep showing up in the moment. All right, so from that center, I'm just going to ask that your own spirit, Veronica talked about our spirit, the ether, just clear any issues that are latent inside of there. If we have issues, most of them are in the first chakra, by the way. So there's just like a light that's just cleaning from the inside, moving out. Going through all the layers, you don't have to control it. It just happens with you. It happens for you. So we're just cleaning you first. And that's going to be programming about deserving and worthiness, or not deserving and not worthiness, and early childhood stuff. About love of our body, love of physicality, our basic life energy. All right. How are you sensing yourself right now?
I feel pretty good. I feel, I don't know if I feel the red that you're talking about.
You don't have to have a color.
Yeah, I just, I feel like I'm grounded.
Great.
And I can see clearly.
Excellent. So now from this point, just kind of come up with a few things that'll be really easy to do for your property.
So the easiest thing that this property needs is to just remove what appears to be too cluttered for seating.
So declutter, which you said already.
Mm-hmm.
Can you feel your certainty about it?
Yes,
Yep.
it's what I want to talk to them about today.
Oh, there you are.
Yes.
You come from here when you have to do with anything physical.
Okay.
You come from this place, the certainty will ring and they will hear it. Because your
Yes.
voice is it's very objective, but it's very clear and powerful. When we come from the first chakra, we're powerful, and people listen.
Okay.
All right, you're good to go.
I'm good to go. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Excellent. All right, any questions on 10th or first chakras?
You said most problems are in the first chakra?
Most problems are in the first chakra. They are. If there's one chakra to clean and clear, which we'll do at the very end, going into this super cool brainwave, it's going to be first chakra. Because it brings into itself, it develops in the womb to 6 months of age. And so we absorb everything from our mom, and everything our mom has absorbed and is absorbing. And there's even studies that are showing the different microbes that are conducted, kind of by mom or the environment in the womb, have a significant impact on our behavior later, on what diseases we develop, all the way from mental and emotional issues to Parkinson's, to other neurological disorders, to heart disorders. So it is the physical chakra, and in our everyday life, it tends to be the one, at least in America, we operate from, because it's about what we have, it's our stuff. But that's the one that tends to be the most problematic as well. So whatever was happening when we were in there, we absorb, because it's subtle energy. It just comes into us and becomes part of our framework. At about day 22 or so, what's going to become the heart starts to develop. And some people call it more like a field, but it and the developing brain are bathed by melatonin from the mother, from her pineal gland. The pineal gland has a lot to do with spirituality. It's going all the way down into the womb, so we're even inheriting our mother's spirituality before we even exist. Very, very much anyway, in any kind of substance. So if I was going to work somewhere, that's where I would work. Yeah, any other questions? Yeah, hi.
What chakra does creativity or marketing come from?
Oh, we're going to do creativity next.
Oh, cool.
All right, thank you. That's good. See, I'm trying to teach you the chakras to your job, but it works in every part of your life, too. All righty. Second chakra, orange. It's in the abdomen. It's actually in your enteric nervous system, or the majority of it, which is where your feelings come from, and the core of your digestion and your immune system. But it's known in most chakra circles as the center of creativity and the center of feelings. And some of us are what we would call feeling empaths. You're very strong in the creative chakra, but it's very easy if you are to absorb other people's feelings and not know how you feel versus how somebody else feels. But ultimately, this is the creative chakra. We typically see it as orange, because what we're doing with all those feelings and those emotions are creating. And creative can be about anything magical. It can be about painting, it can be about dancing. Whatever it is your creative expression that comes from your second chakra, right? Does that make sense? And when you come from the center, you're going to come from yourself. You're not going to be just responding to the new trends or the new waves or what's on the internet, or what, color is in this year. I know you guys probably have to do all that, but but I don't. So you're going to come from your original self, and you're going to be able to read somebody else in that particular way as well. Did you have any other questions about that, about creative? How you can get more creative? All right, so I'm going to bring you up in a little bit, all right? I'm going to quickly talk about third, fourth, and then fifth chakra, which is your marketing chakra, and then do some woo-woo on you. All right. Third chakra is yellow. It's in the solar plexus area. That's your center of power, personal power, positional power, work and work success. This is your administrative center. And so some people are very already, kind of like skilled in their third chakra. You can do paperwork forever. If you're not a paperwork person, I'm sorry, you don't have a very strong third chakra. Get somebody else to do it or plump it up a little bit. But that's really what that chakra is about. It's very much devoted to information and data. So all of these are obviously, I've said, subtle centers, which also means that they're intuitive centers as well. So when somebody's really gifted in the third chakra, you're the person that gets the gut sense and has to make your decisions based on your gut sense. You're just going to have knowings inside of you. What is it you need to know? It's going to be in your gut, and you have to follow it. There was a study several years ago where they compared CEOs to psychics and who was most accurate, in terms of their gut sense. The CEOs were the most accurate because they were able to bring information, intuitive information in through this particular chakra and make decisions based on it that were point on in terms of whatever their goals were. So that's the reason, that we want to develop that particular center and come from the middle of it. You're in a spitfire with a client or a coworker, or something's just not going right. Middle of the third chakra, is going to be your problem-solving place. It's your project management. How you're going to write up a description, what order you're going to put it in. That's all third chakra. All right. That's your gut. Yep, that's your gut. No, the second chakra is your creativity and your feelings. All right? So that's feelings. That's when you feel things, right? And you feel from your own emotional self what's going to be a good decision, or you pick up on other people's feelings. That's going to be second. Third is going to be knowings. how you know data. Without having it even go to your head, it's how you just plain know things. All right. Yep. And it's also, how many of you have ADD? Any of you know you have ADD? Not that many of you. I think more people here probably have ADD. This is the ADD center, right? Because when it's wide open and you're bringing in other people's intuitive data, what it is they're thinking, what it is they know, you're not hearing it in your head, you're getting it in your body. That's coming through that's kind of right brain, if you would. That's intuitive. You're picking up all this stuff about other people, who they are, what they're thinking, what they had for breakfast. And when that goes into your nervous system, your poor, logical brain can't keep up with it and organize it. So your head brain just goes, okay, I can't focus. I can't think of a single thing because so much of the data is intuitive. So that's another reason that, sometimes we come from the middle of it rather than be on the outside and just willy-nilly picking up what other people are sending out. We want to be in the middle and in the center and getting what it is that's going to be useful and important. All right, we're working toward the marketing chakra. Fourth chakra, we were there already. That's the heart, that's relationship, that's where you really want to meet your clients. That's all about love. That's about love, that's about healing, and everything is about love. You want to meet a client's need, you want to know who they are, you want to meet, you want to really feel them and then hear them. That is what we do from the heart. So coming from the center, you're also going to be picking up on, is this really going to be the place for this person, or do we want to look somewhere else? You can't necessarily talk a potential client out of something, but you're going to be able to sense, is this going to work relationally for them? Is this going to work for their people, their family, who they are? Is this a place that's going to give them love, or is this a place that's going to detract from that as well? I remember having a client a few years ago ask me to check in on a couple houses she was looking at. And all I could feel in my heart chakra was like, you guys are just going to fight there. You and your husband, you're not going to get along. It's not going to. Here, you're going to promote happiness. Here, it's all going to go downhill. Guess which one they picked? The downhill one. They got divorced 2 years later. Now, I'm not saying the house caused it, but everything's energy, so it's interactive. So we have to read with our hearts and help our clients do the same as well. All right, marketing chakra. Oh yeah, go ahead. Question over here. I don't know how to tell the time, by the way. Okay, we have like 45 more minutes. We'll get through all the chakras.
I'm glad you brought that up about a house,
Yeah.
because I have a house that a death occurred in, and it was a very questionable mode of what happened to cause the death. And so there is this cloud. I
It's
sense
shady.
it.
You can sense the
Others
cloud.
sense it.
Yep.
And we are having no success with connecting people to it.
Uh-huh.
We want to clear that.
Yep.
How? Because with your friend,
Yep.
bringing that up as an example, couldn't we clear that?
You can clear it. Yes, because if you think of it, even the house, so it's not necessarily an animate being, it's an entity unto itself, and it has equivalent layers of energy, as does a person. So that house will have the equivalent of a 10th chakra. It'll have the equivalent of a heart chakra. It will have the equivalent of a spiritual chakra, all right?
Okay.
And so understanding that absolute light, which is a very real energy, can clear anything and everything. You may want to be in the house. It might be easiest if you actually can be there, but you can do it long distance or virtually as well. And I would do the exercise we're going to do at the very end, where you bring yourself into the highest brain level possible, and then ask that all the chakras of that house are cleared from the inside to the out. It will clear. It will absolutely clear.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great question and very useful. Yeah, because I know a lot of ghost hunters. They go into houses and they try to chase out ghosts, and the ghosts just come back. Um, because they're working in the programming. They're not working in that sense of the absolute, and that makes a real difference, too. Other questions? Yeah.
Kind of similar to his question. I have two that are coming out in July,
Yeah.
and it's not the house, or maybe it is.
Yeah.
But the two people, one just went through a divorce, and he's very brokenhearted, and then the other guy is going through a financial hardship.
And they're the owners.
They're the owners.
Yeah.
So these are two separate properties.
That's going to be in the house.
Okay. So I clear it through the house, and that also clears.
You're going to
the
want to
person?
clear it. Like, the thing that we're working on people, we like to offer them healing, but we can't force healing on people. You can't. But if you're representing the house, you have the right to clear the house of the energy, and then offer the healing to the spirits of those individuals. The spirit is sort of their higher selves, and then their spirit can decide if they want to take in that absolute light or not. That's
Got
the
it.
way I would do it.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Excellent. Sounds like you guys are going to have a lot of use for clearing. Another question. I'm going to have you use the mic. There's just so echoey in here.
Sorry, I have this one property where there's a tug of war between the sellers.
Uh,
One wants to sell, one doesn't want to sell.
very hard.
And I've tried to explain to them that there is that sensation that, what Bill was referring to about the death. There's still that feeling, and that one is very negative and one is very positive. And I'm unable to get them on the same page. So I just wanted to know.
You may or may not be able to get them on the same page. All right, because when people are stuck in their patterns, that's what I'm talking about that programmed energy. Everybody stuck in their pattern thinks they're right, which makes them assume the other person is wrong. But when we do the final meditation, I'll have all of you clear houses if you want to. Okay, clear yourselves and houses. Because the house, if you would, the energy of the house or the land, and or the potential buyer who would love to be in this place, we don't want that polluted. We want to clear the pollution so kind of a more heart-based, kind of set of people can move into the home. Yeah. So you always have the right to clear property, to clear land, to clear property, and let it be what it really is. And then it'll show the way it really is. It'll show. All right, wonderful questions, and it gives me even a better spin for later. Marketing chakra is called the communication chakra. It's the 5th chakra. It's in the throat. We typically see it as blue. We actually receive spiritual guidance through the backside of it. So if you get words in your head, doesn't mean you're crazy. It means you're probably being guided, or knowings, that are verbal, or a poem pops in your mind. That's the clairaudience sense, or the clear hearing sense. And of course, we use the front side of that chakra to communicate. So it's in here we're making decisions about, we're joining. If you're going to be doing creative marketing, like snazzy stuff, you're going to join your 2nd chakra with your 5th chakra. You're going to put those together and see what forms and what comes out. Do you want to try it? All right, good. Yeah, let's try it. If somebody can cue me too, I think I go till 12:15. If somebody cues me when it's like 5 to 12, I want to get through our chakras too. But I want you might want to sing this too. All right. So do you have a project you can think about? Something you want to create, something you want to write?
Yeah, a branding of a new development.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Yep.
like a
That's
multifamily
perfect. Anytime you're putting together your sales copy, right, or a new development or something like that. All right. So I'm going to do just a little centering with you. I want you to take a couple deep breaths. All right. Very good. And you're going to bring your focus first to that abdomen area and go in the very middle of it. That's your 2nd chakra. That's creative. That's emotional. Because you want people to get a feeling out of this. All right. And how do you feel just centering in that absolute light?
Good. I feel focused.
You feel, yeah, perfect. All right, so what we're going to do is draw. I want you to just imagine. You can even have a guidance, whatever you want to call on, or your own higher self. Draw that creative energy up through your body. There you go. Into your throat chakra, into the center. And I'm big on structure. You want to open the back and the front when you're going to be creative in terms of communicating. So I want you to just imagine that this backside's open to wonderful, beautiful clarity energy, and the front. And you're getting all that creative juice like mixed up. I'm always going to call it the marketing chakra from now on. All right. And then just take a couple more deep breaths. And without thinking, I want you to just start just speaking some of the ideas. And you could literally sing them. We sing through this chakra. No edits.
Feeling and embracing the natural elements of the interior and embracing it with the modern exterior with clean lines.
So natural
blending
elements,
too.
clean lines, modern. Put some more words on that.
Wood and stone elements blending together.
Lovely.
And how I can take the natural but keep it elegant and blended with
There
the
you are.
modernness. Yeah.
Now you have your theme. It was quick. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was great. Yay! You can write my marketing copy next time. All right. So that's, yeah, it'll sell. So sixth chakra it's called the third eye. It's in the forehead. We often see it as purple. It's the visual chakra. So the only other piece I would have added to the marketing would be images and pictures, because this is where we come up with colors, pictures, images, and you have to make a lot of choices about that. What color over here, what color over there, what to decrease, what not, what color paint. I know when I was, kind of going through with my family and moving houses, they always said, just slap white on there. And I'm not sure that's really in these days either. But it's that sixth chakra that's going to give you images and color. So I'm going to give each of you an experience. I want you to think of some property or something you're representing that you feel like you have to choose a color for. It doesn't matter if it's for the marketing, a wall, a couch that you're using for staging. I want you to just think of the property. Focus yourself in the inside of your forehead. Remember, it's that absolute light. It's bright, it's clean, it's pure, it's beautiful. And you might get a sense or a feeling or a knowing or an image of a primary color that's important to pick. And sometimes if we don't get something immediately, we just ask, let it come to me over the next few days. All right, how is that? Did you get a color? These are very useful structures. All right, seventh chakra on the top of the head. Typically we perceive it at white. It's the spirit chakra. It's about purpose and connection. And if you feel like being a realtor and or what you kind of surround it with, assisting families, assisting, contractors, assisting developers or whatever, if you feel like you're on purpose, your seventh chakra will be singing. If you feel a little off, like I'm not quite happy, I'm not really helping the type of people or communities I want to be helping, that's a seventh chakra issue. That's where you then spend some time in the middle there and get really clear inside of yourself. Who am I? What am I called to be about? How am I to assist? That's what we do with the seventh chakra. All right, we just have a few more chakras. Now we're going out of body. I mean, we know that we don't end at the skin, so why should the chakras? That eighth chakra, a little bit above the naked woman's head, that's a lovely, interesting chakra. That's a shaman chakra. That's your mystical portal. And when you have mystical experiences, if you feel like you have one of those dreams that has visitors in it, and or sometimes you fly to other planes or other worlds or other places, and or you ask for guidance from worlds not just this one, that occurs through the 8th chakra. That 8th chakra, I also believe in past lives, is your soul chakra, and it would have a recording of your different past lives, where you've been and what you've been about. So that's what your 8th chakra is about. Have any of you felt like you've had those kind of experiences? Yeah. Yeah.
This was one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. I was sitting next to her mom, and Yvonne walked right next to me, and behind Yvonne's head was a blue.
Behind the mom's head.
No, Yvonne's mom was sitting where
Right,
where she
okay.
is now, and Yvonne walked behind both of us and walked this way, and we both looked at Yvonne, and behind Yvonne's head was a blue light, like like some of the lights that Veronica. But
Right.
and Yvonne freaked out so it went like this behind Yvonne, and then I was like, and then I looked at her mom, and then her mom looked at me and said, "Did you see that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did see that." And then Yvonne's like, "What just happened?" And that was the 3rd time I've seen it before, but that was the first time I saw somebody witness it with me. So that was like my physical world confirmation. type
That's
of thing.
it. That's the two coming together. That's the physical with the subtle coming together. Because the physical is just an extension of the subtle, and subtle turns into physical. That's very shamanic. That's visual, right? So you're seeing clairvoyantly, but with the physical eyes. That's the 3rd eye, or the 6th chakra, along with the mystical and the two of those coming together. And it's interesting that you had that coordinated with somebody else.
So both of our 3rd eye was.
Seeing, they were both on. So whatever the blue was, which was about you, right, needed to be seen. There's a messaging there, would be what I would add to that. Yeah, I taught a class one time. Right. I was teaching a class in Chicago a few years ago, and we were talking about, I can't remember, fairies or something like that, nature beings. And all these orbs flew in the room, hundreds of them, orbs, colored rainbow orbs, and it was like all of us could see them. We could all see them. By the next day, half of the people said, "Oh, we didn't see anything." So sometimes it's the brain that gets in the way. That's why I like working in the center of who we are, because the brain is like, I'm not comfortable with that. I would rather go back to normal than not normal, too. So we need to remark on these things, share them like you have, right, and then open up to what else is going to be beneficial for me to know, to see, or to be aware of as well. All right, so that's your 8th. That one's fun. And one of the reasons, like I was responding to how to clear a house, you want to do all the chakras, because if there's spooky stuff from other planets in a house, whether they're dead people or people from other places, you want to clear everything as well. You want to make it clean and kind of resonant with what you're going for. 9th chakra, yeah, go ahead.
So when somebody like a priest or like a rabbi comes
Yes.
to clean a house.
Right.
So when a religious person comes to clean a house,
Yes.
or a spiritual person, they all have a common denominator, and
They all have a common denominator. Yep. They're
And-
all new. They're all without the label. They're all working with absolute light because it is a spiritual energy. They're all trying to clean with a spiritual energy, with something that's universal, that's about love, that's about grace, which I relate as love that makes a difference. They're all trying to clean with that. They might call on different beings, different sources of different beings, but from that source of all love, that's what they're doing when they're cleaning. That's what we're doing when we're giving healing to each other. We're calling on source to do that. That's why I like to come from the inside of a chakra, because ultimately I'm surrendering and I'm asking for whatever we call the oneness or love to make the decisions and do what needs to be done. That's why I come from there. Other questions?
I had a question regarding cleaning the.
Oops, I can't. It seems
In
off.
regards,
Maybe
Hello?
the battery's out. Yeah, there it works. Okay.
in regards to cleaning the house chakra, is there a certain area that you should be in when you clear the
I
energies
start
of a
in the
house?
heart of the house, and it's different in different houses, but a lot of times the heart of a house is the kitchen. I mean, or if there's a room with a fireplace where you know that the people often sit or sat, I would start there. Wherever there's the most congregation of people or animals, and people, I would start in the heart. That's the area that I would be picturing or standing in. Great question. Thank you. Okay. Couple more chakras. Ninth chakra. These ones most of you would not know about if you do know chakras. It's gold. It's above the head. It's lovely. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. We'll do a little bit with it with the lambda brainwave that we do. Yep, it's up there. Some of you can feel it. If you put your hand up, you can kind of touch it. That's a harmonizing chakra. In most cultures, gold is like the highest color. When you call on gold, think gold, picture gold, use gold, you're saying what's supposed to happen will happen. Whatever the universe, God, whatever word you want to use, source, whatever's supposed to happen, gold will make it happen. That chakra, by the way, and we're going to call on it when we go into lambda for each of you, also has codes. It has spiritual genetic codes that when they're brought into your energy system, into your field, into your chakras, into your bones, into your cells, those codes which are unique to you will begin or complete the process of activating physically, psychologically, and spiritual who you are and what you're supposed to be. I think it's probably the easiest way to do self-healing is to bring that down. I'll give you a really great story. I had a man in one of my classes. His wife made him take the class, so he didn't really want to do it. And it was a one-year program, and a few times in, he was like, what is this? This isn't making any sense. And the neighbor had a dog named Teak that was biting people, a German Shepherd rescue, and the neighbor said, we're going to have to put Teak down. I mean, Teak has bitten like 11 people. That's probably a few people too many if the officiants get a hold of Teak. And he goes, I'm just doing this weird class. Do you mind if you just wait a week and I'm just going to use the exercises and see what happens? She said, okay, fine. So twice a day, he just, kind of did the meditation, asked for healing, this and that. Every night, he would pull energy, ask for absolute light, ask for grace to come down through the ninth chakra to go into Teak. And 3-4 days into that, the owner comes to him and says, what are you doing to my dog at night? He goes, what do you mean? And she said, he just falls over for like 20 minutes. Like he just falls over in the food bowl. He just falls over in the yard. He just stops playing. At the end of the week, Teak was literally a new man. Teak had the emotional issues were gone. The physical trauma seemed to have released. The physical body was healthier. He didn't even believe in this stuff. But the codes don't require, that. If we're working, kind of on that level where our spirit, our essential self is in charge, Teak was a different being. Isn't that a great story? That's why we're going to do some ninth chakra. We're going to clear houses and do ninth chakra when we work together. We've talked about the 10th chakra. The 11th chakra is sort of a fun one. It's around your hands and your feet. It's rose in the image. A lot of people who live close to the earth use this chakra in a knowing way. Most of us have it, but we don't know we have it. It's a commanding chakra. Through it, we command natural and supernatural forces. So that's what the chakra is about. You can move air. You can move the elements. You move the wind. Call on rain. And if it's to happen, when you're working through absolute light, you think of the center of the palms or the center, of the feet for that. When it's in alignment with what is greater, with what is to be, it will happen. I was teaching about this chakra a few years ago in a little house with a number of people. It was a chiropractic studio. And we were talking about it. They said, well, why don't we use this and have it rain? Nice summer day, Sunday afternoon. I said, okay, well, we'll just see what happens. It started raining. Within like a minute, it started raining. So I was surprised too. We went outside afterwards, and it had only rained around the house. The sidewalk was dry. The backyard was dry. It only rained on the house. So someone upstairs knew that we needed to know that this was valid and something to be ethically careful with. Years ago, I was studying shamanism, and I knew that there was a woman who was working with shamans. She was writing a book about them down in Mexico. So I drove into the city. I mean, it's like a little town square with a fountain, right? And she's sitting there. She didn't know I was coming. This woman's sitting there, raw, jagged wound on her cheek. And she's a white woman, so I knew that she was the doctor I was looking for. I went up to her and I said, "What happened?" She goes, "Well, I was putting one shaman in the book and not a different one. So the non-book one threw lightning at me." I know. We don't want to do that to people. But you have command power more than you know. It's just about being in that sense of alignment. If it's like, I really need a sale within a month, or I'd really like to find a home for this person. Like, look at how we even talk with our hands when we're doing these kind of things. As long as it's in alignment, we go for that. We stamp our feet softly, and we move our hands, and we ask for that, kind of blessed be what's to happen. We have one more chakra. It's the 12th chakra, and it's personal to who we are. You can find it in the middle of the heart. It's in the energy field. It holds capabilities or gifts that are unique to who you are, because it's about your uniqueness. All of this, adventure and the journey, is about knowing who you are and what you are especially and specially bringing to this planet as well. So that one's very unique to who you are. As a point, as an example, I was working years ago with a client. I was doing a reading on her, and I was like, gosh, I see a castle. I keep getting this image of you getting married into a castle to a prince. It is not Megan, all right? She goes, well, I am married to a prince. I didn't know who she was. I don't know who people are, when they call, unless I met them before. And I said, oh, well, it looks like there's a few women there who weren't very happy about you being the bride. She goes, those were his ex-girlfriends. I'm like, why did you invite his ex-girlfriends? And then as we went on, I said, you have a very unusual gift. And this is what my sense of it is, because how do I know exactly? I said, it looks like when you tell a story, the ending comes true. And she didn't talk. That'd be a 12th chakra unique gift. She goes, I have written 3 stories in my life, and the ending came true. One story, I know it makes me want to cry though. One story was for a friend of mine. Her son, who was very young, had leukemia, and I wrote him a story where it healed. I mean, what a gift. I said, you may want to do something with that. She goes, no, I don't want to. And she continued being a graphic artist, which is very creative. But sometimes what makes us most unique can also be the scariest to who we are too, because we stand out from the crowd. So in terms of the lessons of the outer chakras in our programming, when we're self, we're different. We don't necessarily fit the same way into a clan. And though the outer programming is about survival, we will more than survive. We will thrive if we be ourselves, but we don't always know that. That's what the programming might say. So before I talk a little bit about Lambda and do a guided meditation, any last questions? Remember, we're gonna bring down our codes. We're gonna activate our 12 power gifts, and we're gonna clear a property, whichever or of any of those you desire to do. All right, you good? Yeah, we're gonna bring the codes down into our body for ourselves. So we do healing for ourselves. We're going to activate our own special gifts. And whoever wants to clear a property, I'm going to walk you through that too. I didn't come prepared to do that, but we can do that. It'll be very useful. So what I'm going to bring you in order to do this is called Lambda, Lambda. It's a lambda brainwave. And brain waves are cycles per second in the brain. And most of the time we walk around in beta, which is very functional, and doing, but it also can be stressful. And it's been shown that when people have higher spiritual experiences, they're going into the faster brain waves. And I don't want to do just brain waves, I want to do the whole body with these. So a lot of what people participate in is what's called the gamma brainwave. It's fairly quick. It goes about 30 to 80 cycles per second. You don't want to be in the lower ones, because if you do have ADD or ADHD kind of triggers, they can get actually worse. But it's also been shown that once you get over that 80 cycles per second mark, you're in a whole different sort of a state. Sometimes it's called hypergamma. That's very clear. People's vision gets really clear. Their memory's really clear. Their ability to problem solve is really strong. And then once you go about 120 cycles per second and more, which is very quick, this is probably the real guru consciousness when you're going very quickly. That's sort of that white light state. It doesn't mean you see a white light, but you're in your spirit state. And a couple events occur when we're up there. And you're not going to be floating in the ceiling. You're not going to feel all hyper. These are just cycles, and we're going to do it through the whole system and the whole body. Our very lowest brain waves are underneath delta, are sleeping. There's one or two. There's an argument. One of them is called infralow. It's really slow. It's really old, really low. When you're doing certain types of therapy, the therapists are trying to get you down there to clear the stress. It's called a cortical brainwave, and it holds some of your stressors. When it's working great, it's awesome, but for most of us, it's where we hold our stress, and traumas and inherited patterns. And when we're in lambda, that is changed, and or it's cleared by a different. There's an argument about what's what. That's why I'm being, kind of weird about it. It's cleared by another very low brainwave called epsilon, which is what you want to run your body by. Epsilon is under 5 point time cycles per second, and it's the spiritual. It's the spirit in the body. It's your spirit in the body. It's what people are in. When they get to lambda, they have that the similar capability of reaching to the heavens through the top chakras as being all the way in the body, in the lower chakras, in that same state of openness and awareness and love. So that's what I'm going to guide you into, and then we'll do our chakra work, and we'll close. All right? Okay. And then you have lunch or something. All right. Take a few deep breaths, and remember that your own spirit, your own essence, the power of grace or love that makes a difference will be doing this with you and for you. And so you can just relax into yourself, relax into your body, relax into your way of knowing, relax into your way of being, and breathe. And invite you to allow these changes from that very center of your heart chakra in the middle of the absolute light. In that middle of heaven on earth, your so-called heavenly self in your body. And then just relax a couple other degrees. And let your breathing just take care of itself. You've been breathing since you were born. Your body knows how to take care of you. And you know how to take care of your body. And then simply request that your own higher self, your own beingness, begins to move not just your brain, but your entire body self into what we would call the gamma state of cycling. You don't have to do anything, just breathe and allow. You'll start to feel a quickening that's very peaceful as the electricity, the electrical firing in your body, gently but fully starts to go into gamma. It just starts to move in ripples that a scientist would say is about 30 cycles per second, then 40, then 50, then 60, then 70, and then 80. You're coming from absolute light, your own beingness, through the entire body. And you're actually already engaging the center of every one of your chakras because they only operate at optimum of spirit energy. And then with another couple breaths, just allow your own essence, your own self, your own beingness to bring you up through what we call hypergamma, 80, 90, 100, 110 cycles. And I want you to just get a sense of what this is like. You're literally resonating absolute light right now, up and down and all around. And at whatever other level is comfortable, you're just going to be moved into. Your own essence will move you into lambda. 120 or faster. So fast you're in complete peace and tranquility. And you are the absolute light. And in this state, you can give permission for grace, for streams of love that serve the absolute, to just wash down from above, from way above you, through what we call that ninth chakra, that gold chakra, that holds codes, key codes, spirit genetics, for this lifetime, for this body, for this system, for this you. And that energy just really, truly washes through that chakra, through the other one atop the head, the eighth, into your crown, and gets dispersed through the center of the spine and the chakras, in the body, down through the legs, into and through that 10th chakra, out the 11th, around the hands and the feet, into the field. And give yourself a second to just feel those codes. The simple, easy delivery of what you are to receive for yourself. And you know that these are going to land, these are going to anchor and express in a way that's gentle and true to your everyday life, because you do have that virtual light in your body that will serve as the bridge from where you are to what is more optimum. Just get a sense of feeling any pictures, resonates. And then bring that breath back into the middle of the heart chakra and request that grace over the next few days, 3 days, stimulate your 12th chakra, your unique chakra, and your uniquely gifted self. So whether known or not known, your most extraordinary powers or gifts will activate, will open, the wings will open. And you'll become aware or more aware. And then on the very practical level, while you're in Lambda, that's a very good place to interact with a client, with a need, with a marketing plan, and also if there is a property to clear, this is the place you come from purity while you're doing it. You can always offer this type of grace to people. It is not for us to decide what they're to do with it. But it does create the kind of energies and presence that are needed to clear a property and or land. And so if you do have a property that you would like to clear, maybe you even own it, or there's one you're thinking about, or that's been stuck, or you sense what's sort of shady in there. While you're in Lambda, centered in the absolute in your heart, recognize that the same bandwidths of energy are available in a house and a property as in a person, because it is all energy. And recognize that the center is the same absolute light that really makes up the greater reality. So they have chakras with absolute light, and simply request that that same deliverance of grace occurs through all the chakras of that property or anything related to it. And this energy moves faster than the speed of light. So as soon as you request, it is delivered. And then just get a sense of that happening. You are doing a very good thing. And if you are enabling that clearing, just kind of check in with yourself, how you feel in the middle of that, and what you believe, sense, feel, know, see, or are even told spiritually is happening with that property. And then you can turn the rest of that delivery of goodness over to the caretakers, the spiritual caretakers of that property, and release it, and release yourself from it, to be centered here and now within yourself. In your heart, in the absolute, where you can remain and be always who you are. Very slowly. Just also become even more aware of your body, your location, your here, your now. And the gift you've given yourself in recognizing your own authenticity. Then open your eyes when you're ready. Hi. Did you feel property clearing? That's lovely. Thank you all. I know that Veronica speaks so highly of each and every one of you. And again, I am in awe of who you each are, the light you are, what you bring to this world, and what you're bringing to all your clients as well. So thank you.
Myself back on. Cindy, Dale, that was absolutely, let's just have another round of applause for Cindy.
Thank you. Thanks for asking about the property. Did it feel clearing? Good.
I felt the lambda. I actually felt it.
No,
It
the
was
lambda is
good.
really different
No.
than gamma.
For sure. It was great
Yeah.
feeling.
It's quieter, actually.
May I ask, what is an exercise, a quick exercise that you can do to quiet the brain down?
Okay, to quiet down the brain, one of the reasons I emphasize lambda not in the brain but in the whole body is it's actually a very peaceful rippling, And so the quickest way is think of your 10th chakra, to be honest. All right, think of the 10th chakra, go into the center of your, because you weren't anywhere near your head when you were in the 10th chakra. You just go down there. Yep. Exactly. So go right down into that 10th chakra, go into the absolute light, and stay there for a little while, too. All right. But you can also just ask that your heart chakra open up to lambda, because it will share that same resonance with the other chakras, and you can't be in lambda and stuck in thinking at the same time. You just can't. This is guru consciousness, which is sort of like, you don't have to be a ditz, you know what I mean? But you're just more in flow with it. Good question. Good. Any other questions? Yeah. Oh, all right. Good question. So how do the dreams affect the chakras? There's different types of dreams, okay? So there are dreams that are psychological. I don't know how many of you were waitresses and you still waitress in your dream, or waiter whenever you're stressed or can't find your car in the parking lot or whatever. Those are psychological dreams. There's also visitation dreams, where literally a being comes and we interact and we remember it as well. There are what I would call messaging or prophetic dreams, where we feel like we're getting a message that may be from our higher self or another guide. Does that make sense? And then there's lucid dreams. So many of you have probably had lucid dreams too, where you're interactive and what you do in the dream changes the dream. So there's different types of dreams. And so dreams, a lot of dream interpreters say they're all psychological, they're all parts of ourselves. I disagree. I think those are the other parts of the dream. So they're part of our processing, and I believe they're part of our soul interacting with us, and guides interacting with us as well.
Good
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, excellent. Any other questions? I know we're closing soon. Yeah.
Alpha and theta.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's theta. And I'm happy to talk about the other brain states too. Theta is very interesting. Theta is a cycling of like 4 to 8 cycles per second. There's some studies with healers. William Bengston, Energy Cure is one of the books. It's been out for a while, where he was able to go into theta, and then his theta would share with others, and they were able to heal rats, even if of cancer that they gave the rats cancer. They were able to heal the rats of the cancer, even people who didn't believe it was going to happen. The rats were healing. So theta is kind of a core healing state. It's a childlike state. It's sort of a dreamy state. On top of it, we have about 8 to 12. Different people have different numbers of alpha. That's sort of a very aware state. Sometimes people meditate in alpha. It's an accomplishment state as well. Then we go into beta, which we're often in, which can be very, it's about, it gets us up to about 30, if you would, up into gamma. But it's very, there's parts of it that are very stressful or scattered as well. So those are some of the other states too. If you want to just sort of be in I'm open to being healed state, theta is very good. The only thing with theta, you have to watch it, because a lot of times when kids, when they're little, they're very vulnerable in theta. So if they're witnessing violence or abuse or heavy codependency or addiction cycles, it goes straight in them when they're in theta also. So that's the wariness that I have with theta. But it's the healing state. It just is. Thanks for asking that. Any other questions? Yeah.
Thank you. When you were guiding us the meditation earlier, I was experiencing colors.
Oh, colors.
At first I see light blue,
Uh-huh.
and then turns into yellow, like gold.
Uh-huh.
And then when you asked us to reach lambda, I feel like I was above the cloud. Like before reach of lambda, I feel like I was shaking.
Uh-huh.
And then
Yeah.
when I reach above the cloud,
Okay.
I know I'm moving, but I'm not.
Right.
I feel everything stop.
Uh-huh.
And then I start seeing everything white, like blue, yellow, and white.
Okay.
And then you ask us to like clean out.
Bring the energy down.
And then I start seeing my own house
That's gorgeous. That's beautiful.
And my question is, where can we learn more about this chakra, and how do we know we can do more?
You can do more. I don't have any books that have lambda in it, unfortunately, because it's sort of newer, the past year or two that I've been working with it or teaching it directly. Haven't put it in any books. But I would say yellow has to do if, yellow is about mental clarity, and it's a very clean color. Light blue is a very calm color. That's kind of how we interpret those colors. It's kind of neat with lambda, how she was saying that she first started feeling like shaky, right? But still, also, you got above everything. That's what lambda does. It brings us up and out of all the everyday, and it's simultaneously quick and quiet at the same time. It's really a sense of stillness. That's why I find it safe, because you're not going to be jerking around, or going into challenges like you do in lower gamma, which is like 30 to 50 or so. And so, lambda just invokes peace and quiet, and it clears things. So it's higher perspective. It gives you higher perspective in everything. I have a million books on chakras. That's easy. You can just Google me, and there'll be articles out there about chakras, etc. I think you can still get it. Cindy Dale, the Shift Network, I think it's called 7 Days of Brain States or something like that. I recorded all the basic brain states except Delta, because you'd be sleeping through it, for the Shift Network a few years ago. So they're 15 to 20-minute guided meditations that take you through the different brain states. And technically, they don't let people get it. However, if you put in Cindy Dale, the Shift Network, 7 Days of Brain States, you can download it. And it's a great little piece. So it'll keep bringing you into lambda. When I bring people into lambda, I automatically bring them into the lower ones, so you do healing of the deep and unconscious stress, too. Yeah? Oh, the stones, what I typically find is that the body is like, what are we doing? I'm just making stuff up in my head. This doesn't mean anything. And so I very deliberately picked the stones for the body to get more comfortable with the absolute, the virtual, and to know the everyday. Notice I went back to the virtual at the very end when we did the lambda. So the white stone is much more like, you saw the white light. Many people, it is the white light state of consciousness when you get into lambda, in and through the body. I call it white light neurology, where you're sort of living the everyday enlightened way of being, too. So that's why I picked the white, for you to feel the absolute. And the blue is, it doesn't matter if it's blue or pink, to be honest, but it's one of the chakra colors that's a little bit higher, one of the higher chakras, so it works for virtual. And I picked the red because that's the kind of color, some of yours are gray or brown, because that's really everyday and dense. So it was just to get the body to start equating, kind of like these chakra states with itself. Because it's sort of like, like what you brought up. What is this stuff? My body, my brain is like, for some of us, like, this is odd. So it's good to have a token when you're working with things. Sometimes, for instance, when people are doing elemental work and they're starting with it, don't start a house fire, but light a candle if you're going to work with the fire element, right? It's helpful for the mind. The brain will turn off if it feels like it's got something physical to attach to. And you can keep the stones. And maybe you just want to keep the white stone. Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is a chakra thing, but I've had situations where I've had homes that we just couldn't get full. And I finally just decided, like, ask the seller to go to the house, thank the house,
Be grateful.
all of those things, just go and spend some time in the house and let it go.
Yes.
And I just got that feeling like,
Good.
you're not selling because you're not letting it go.
Right.
And it worked.
I believe it. Yes.
Two examples, I was like, what? Like, so, yeah, but in some cases they didn't let it go.
No, some people won't let go. So she's bringing up a house isn't leaving, and you had a sense the seller's not letting it go. We get attached to things. It's all subtle energy. There is something in my field we call a cord. It's like an energetic garden hose, and people plant them in other people, give them their energy, take their energy, they plant them in a house. And it's where there's been memories, whether they're positive or negative memories. We sometimes put our own energy in those cords in a house, and physical, like the physical air or a sofa or a painting or whatever it is, can hold subtle energy. So it can literally hold some of the subtle energy of a person as well. So some people put the cords in the house, like, I am rooted, I am planted. I had my child in this house, or this is where I got rid of that partner when I was in the house. It can be positive or negative, but they don't always know that they're entrenched and they're still in there and holding on. So when you ask them to let go and they're not, you might want to clear the house the way we just did. You're sort of overriding the person, and they may override you back. You can clear it, and they may go, not going to happen. I don't know. It'd be great if you guys had like a shaman, house shaman person, who would sit down with the client and say, you got a cord. You got a cord into that kitchen. And what is that about? What memory is in there? Because you have to use, I like the power of grace. You have to use the power of grace to help release that. And they may have emotions come up. They may have feelings. They may have parts of them they have to, aspects of them they have to re-recognize. So that's it's like when people are dying. You've seen that. Literally doctors or nurses will say, I'm sorry, here you are with your siblings, and they're not going. My mom was dying a few years ago, and she and I were at peace and in a really good place. But my two sisters, who had only seen her once or twice in 15 years, they camped out for 5 days and nights. And the nurse came to me, and she said, your mom's not going to go when they're here. I think it was more they thought that they were going to, seize her and eat her. They were, very obsessed, very drunk people, too. So they drank the whole time. And so I said, okay, well, tomorrow I'll kick them out because I had the power of attorney, if I need to. But I just kind of threw up this wish. I said, Mom, I'm here. Oh, and then what happened is my sister, she said, well, you have one night. It was at 6 p.m. And I said to my sisters, why don't you get some dinner? They hadn't been out for 3 days. They hadn't gone anywhere. They kept bringing food in, sending in. They said, okay, we'll just go out for half an hour. And I thought, this is the half hour. My oldest son, who my mother loved, came into the room. We had half an hour. I didn't tell my son this. We turned off the lights, played this beautiful music. My mother breathed and left. She breathed, smiled, and left. It was beautiful. And my son and I are going, I said, I think she stopped breathing. He goes, well, I think she stopped breathing too. And then I said, well, see if she has a heartbeat. Now we were like kids. I said, well, see if she has a heartbeat. Let's see if she's really dead. And he picks up her wrist. I go, does she have a heartbeat? And he said, well, I don't know what an old person's heartbeat feels like. And he looks at me and he goes, we're going to be in so much trouble with your sisters. They're going to accuse us of killing her. So the nurse comes in. She's like, good job. And Michael, my son, was like, we better text your sister and say she's dying. Don't say she's dead. Say that she's dying and they need to get back, right? So they come in 30 seconds later. One of my sisters looks at us. She goes, she's dead, isn't she? And we just didn't say anything. I know, it's kind of a funny story. This cannot go very popular, this part of the show. And she looks at him, she goes, you smothered her. But it's the same thing with a house, right? We have different reasons for holding on. It can be to clear out negative imprints, or because we have happy memories, we connect to the place. We can bring them with us. You want to erase the negative, but you can bring the happy with, too. That's what I try to tell clients. They're your happy, bring them with you. All right, any other thoughts or questions? You've had a long morning. I can't hear you, though. Can you come up? Yeah, great. I don't care. It's just echoey, and I want to pay attention. 11th, yes. What color is that? Rose, it's rose. It's pink because it's a blend of red, which is really physical, and white, which is really spiritual. So you want to be running it by spiritual ethics, and the red is doing. Red is physical. You want to produce physical effects. So if I see you all walking around later going like this, and it rains, we have ourselves to thank for it. Any other thoughts? Any other questions?
Do you see colors when you look at it?
I can when I do.
It just takes a lot of energy to do it.
Yeah. So I usually stay shut down, and closed off. But do you want me to tell you what I see with you? Are you okay with that? But I'm doing it because you asked, and I'm doing it just for you. Because there's other people with colors. You have a beautiful gold. You have this wonderful kind of gold, and not just because we did the ninth chakra. You have a beautiful, beautiful gold, in and through you. You've got this sort of a kind of an indigo. Some colors aren't something you can describe. Kind of like a beautiful indigo with some white in it. That's about understanding higher. So gold is God power. Gold is I want to do the right thing, and I'm here to do the right thing in general. And I can help make the right thing happen. The indigo is like a deep mystical resonance. With the white in it is like spirit, but it means that you hear what people are really saying. Like not what they think they're saying, but what they really are saying. And you can convey that, with your heart, what they need to hear. You can convey it whether it's through words or whether it's, like a gesture, or something you're offering them. But I think you're also super, super based in practical. You've got like beautiful layers of like, is sienna that color that's sort of an orange brown? Yeah, it's a beautiful sienna, which is kind of bronzy. So it has a lot of the physical first chakra. It has the brown, which is very here and down to earth. But the bronze has a little bit of what some people call the kundalini color in it, where there's like a shine to it, a spirit activated in it. You have other energies too, but that's what comes to me first. Well, thank you for letting me do that. Uh-huh. Yes. I don't go around the mall and do this. So, any other thoughts or questions? Thank you. Thank you all. Enjoy. Thank you.
What an absolute treat, Cindy. We thank
Thank you.
This was the
My
best.
pleasure.
One more applause, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Well, what a great, amazing experience. And those of you that want to learn more and understand them, we'll continue to have those conversations in our coaching sessions. And Cindy has so many wonderful Zooms that she teaches on, right? And
I have lots of
courses.
classes
Yeah.
coming up.
If you go to her website, you will see all the classes that she teaches. They're phenomenal. Thank you.
Well,
so
you
much.
will soon. I'm getting that. You know how everybody says I'm getting a new website?
Yeah.
I really am.
What will be the URL? Is it going to be cindydale.com?
Yeah.
Okay, cindydale.com for more information and more learning about this amazing energetic system in your body. This now brings us, everyone, to the conclusion of our event. I am so honored that you took the time out of your busy schedules to be here, to learn something different that's going to change every one of your lives. And I hope that you take this information and actually practice it and actually use it. Everyone will be provided with the PowerPoints, the photo gallery. We'll get that out to everyone in the next week. I want you all to leave here today more peaceful, more powerful, more purposeful, more healthy. And I want you to enjoy your afternoon. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. And lunch is served. Lunch is